and welcome to this animation explaining the family life cycle. The family life cycle is an incredibly useful understanding from family therapy. It refers to the progression of the family unit through transitional periods in its life cycle. That's right, the family system has a life cycle. We all know about life cycles, like when a tadpole becomes a frog or a puppy grows up into a dog. And most people are also familiar with individual life cycles, the different ages and stages of children as they grow, have birthdays, start school, become teenagers and then adults. Typically though, when we think of the life cycle transitions, we think of these as individual milestones. But families have a life cycle too, and the family life cycle refers to the stages and transitions for the family system. Sometimes these transitions can be challenging. Knowing about the family life cycle is incredibly useful because understanding that the family has different stages and transitions can make a big difference in how we navigate the journey of life. So what exactly are the family life cycle stages and transitions? Family life cycle transitions are predictable transitions that happen as we move between the different stages of life and journey through life and time. Each transition requires flexibility for the family to change, to adapt with a new family structure, and to adjust aspects of life like roles, routines, family processes, and even family identity. Different periods or stages of the family life cycle typically require modifications in the family structure and processes, but most people don't consciously consider this. The transitions may be predictable, but the adaptations and changes are often taken for granted or assumed that they will just naturally happen. What are the stages of the family life cycle? Leaving home. This is about accepting financial, practical, and emotional responsibility for oneself. Partnering up with a significant other to create a new family system. This is the joining of families through significant relationships or marriage and commitment to a new system. Families with young children. This involves accepting children as new members of the family system. Families with teenagers. This involves increasing the family system flexibility and allowing for growth and independence. Launching teenagers and moving on in midlife. The family system is adapting to exits from the system and entries too. And families in later life, where the generational roles shift as parents may become grandparents or as people retire. So let's dive into understanding these different stages. Leaving home. The leaving home stage involves a reshuffle of roles as the young adult becomes responsible for themselves. Parents may often still help, but the young adult is responsible for their finances, decision-making, problem-solving, emotional and physical well-being, relationships, spirituality, and establishing themselves in the community and society. Some helpful considerations for this family life cycle stage include: consider the strengths for navigating this stage and where help might be needed. Consider how to balance independence and staying connected to family. And consider how to help your young adult without over-functioning for them. Partnering up. Becoming a couple is a commitment to a new system that involves consideration of how to be an individual as well as being a partner, how to arrange practicalities like decorating, chores, what to have for dinner, where to holiday, and even how to have fun together, how to communicate and share intimately, how to manage relationships with families of origin and friends, and how to manage engagement in the broader community, for example, sporting or religious groups. Some helpful considerations for this stage of the family life cycle include the importance of developing open communication and working out how to solve problems together, appreciating the importance of being curious and respectful about each other's family of origin, friends, and other important relationships, and then negotiating how to honour these whilst now in a couple relationship. Families with young children. Welcoming baby into the family is a big transition that requires a renegotiation of roles, relationships, and couple processes to make space for the new person in the relationship, the child. Helpful considerations for this stage include: each parent will need to find a way to create their own relationship with baby, and each baby or child that comes into the family through birth, fostering, or adoption. Each parent still needs to work out how to be a person and a partner, as well as a parent. It's important to invest time into considering and talking about hopes and dreams for baby and yourself as a parent, as well as the practicalities like finances and roles, like housekeeping, and also values about parenting. Make time to consider and talk about the impact of baby joining your family system, also on your broader system of family and friends. Families with teenagers. As young children in the family system become tweens and then teens, they are going through some individual developmental changes that are also part of family life. Things like their brain being under construction from a neuroscience perspective. This refers to a range of things from reduction in logical thinking to increase in sleeping in. There are also hormones, developing independence, and increased connection with peers. Helpful considerations for this stage include: work out a balance of allowing your teen to connect to friends while still staying connected with you and the family. Consider the neurobiological changes in this stage and avoid taking things personally or having unrealistic expectations. Take some time to do some research and understand your teen. Remember that different ages and stages require different parenting strategies, and you may need to update and tweak how you connect to your teen, talk to them, discipline them, and what you expect from them. And as the last child enters the teen years, this is a time for you to consider the upcoming time together as a couple and your time as an individual and what your hopes are for this time. Launching teenagers and moving on in midlife. Launching might sound like your teen is literally launched out of the family home, and sometimes this is the case, but it really refers to launching into the next stage of life. This means a shift from a parent-to-child relationship to an adult-to-adult relationship. It's an emotional and relational shift that may or may not involve a geographical shift, but it does allow more space for the couple relationship and for being an individual. Some helpful considerations for this stage include: if your teen or young adult's living with you, consider your values and house rules, and also what this looks like for another adult in the house as opposed to a child. Consider how to keep connected in an adult-to-adult relationship with your child. As a person, partner, and parent, take time to reevaluate your values and vision for this stage of life. What are your hopes, goals, and dreams? And consider your connection or reconnection to friends and community. Families in mid to later life. From midlife to late midlife, families continue to change with things like shifts in generational roles, reviewing the couple system functioning, and individual functioning, including having fun and connecting as a couple. There may also be an increasing interest in family history, including family stories, and wanting to pass these on to the next generation. Helpful considerations for this family life cycle stage include: consider how roles are changing in terms of supporting adult children and possibly also elderly parents at the same time. Strike a balance of support without over-functioning for the other person, a balance that respects the other's autonomy. If you become a grandparent, balance maintaining a relationship with your adult child with building a relationship with your grandchild. Don't let your enthusiasm for a grandchild invite you to lose focus on your adult child. They still matter. If you become a grandparent, remember your role is to support your child in their parenting. This means accepting that as adults, they may make different parenting choices to you. And as time progresses, the family life cycle moves on to acknowledge the final changes. The family life cycle acknowledges the end of the life cycle. Death and loss are the most profound challenges families confront. It's important to be mindful that there are a variety of individual understandings and responses to loss, and it's also important to understand that there are adaptational challenges for the family system. For family systems, mutual support at times of loss makes a difference. Relational connectedness helps families and family members to emerge strengthened and more resourceful in meeting future life challenges. In the family life cycle, challenges often arise at transitions because of the changes, adaptations, and adjustments needed. Change is hard and sometimes even scary. If a family is having trouble accommodating to the changes needed for the life cycle transition, these challenges can turn into problems for the family, leaving them stuck or having troubles coping. And these troubles can put stress and strain on family relationships and individuals. Sometimes this can end up looking like stress, anxiety, anger, behaviour problems, or depression as the pressure builds up. It's common for people to seek counselling and support at a family life cycle transition because the required changes in family structure, relationship, roles and processes can be very challenging. Sometimes just knowing about the family life cycle is help enough, leaving everyone feeling normal and validated, and opening up possibilities for doing something different. And sometimes a family or a family member might seek support with how to navigate the transition. Some family life cycle transitions are more complicated because they don't follow the predictable life cycle transition pathway. Life does not always go according to plan. The plan can change, and we are all subject to the hands we are dealt and to the slings and arrows of fate. And so there are also other life pathways, other life choices and aspects of life, and other considerations in the family life cycle. The other pathways, choices, aspects, and considerations include things like migration, which can be a positive choice or a forced choice. They also include things like loss, trauma, remaining single, global issues such as the pandemic, a fertility journey that may not end as planned, pregnancy loss, illness or injury, disability, war, or experiences of natural disasters, including flood, fire, cyclones, and drought. Some of these are referred to as unscheduled transitions because things like untimely loss and trauma, they are literally unscheduled, unpredictable, and unwanted. Unscheduled transitions have an impact on the family structure, arrangement, roles, and processes, and can require additional support. In the family life cycle, it's helpful to consider that sometimes more than one family life cycle stage is happening at one time. And in the same way that stress is cumulative, family life cycle transitions can result in cumulative stress. An example of more than one stage at a time includes the sandwich generation. So named because this is where adults are caring for their children and also their parents and are sandwiched in between two sets of caring responsibilities. It's also important to note that family life cycle transitions occur in the context of culture, family culture, and broader cultural considerations. Depending on your cultural context, the navigation of family life cycle stages can look a little different and sometimes be a bit more complicated. For example, when you migrate and hold your cultural values closely, but your children don't hold them as closely as they become adults and start their own family systems. Your children's different values and different choices can sometimes result in relationship tensions and conflict. So now that you know about the family life cycle, I hope that this helps you to take a step back when you're feeling the pressures of family life and to treat yourself and your family system with acceptance and kindness as you journey through life. There are reasons things can get tricky, and one of those reasons is change. Knowing about and understanding the changes and helpful considerations is useful in navigating these more smoothly. Changes and challenges happen, both the predictable ones and the unplanned, unpredictable ones. But knowing a bit about the family life cycle transitions can empower you to consider what steps you can take to navigate the changing seasons of life. Thank you for taking the time to watch this animation and to learn about the family life cycle. If these ideas caught your attention and you'd like to find out more, you can visit my website to subscribe to my monthly resource letter and also connect with me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you would like to find a family therapist in Australia, please visit the Family Therapy Association and look for the Register of Clinical Family Therapists. And finally, I'd like to acknowledge and thank the work of Monica McGoldrick and her colleagues who've introduced the idea of the family life cycle. Thank you and goodbye.